CNN political commentator and host of The Big Deal with Errol Lewis on Spectrum News. Errol, good morning to you. So let's start here. We've got new CNN reporting out in just the last few minutes about how members of the Senate, Republican members, are bracing for the confirmation fight. Does the Gates withdrawal make the Hegseth nomination or pending nomination for defense and the sexual assault allegations and Kennedy at HHS and his conspiracy theories, does it make it more or less likely that they'll get through this process?
Good morning, Victor. I think the Senate is going to handle these each separately, and they're going to have a real gut check, a real sort of private moment with themselves and figure out what's real and what's not. There are some candidates who are clearly unqualified, and I would put Gates in that category, who probably never should have been nominated in the first place, and we're always going to have a hard time. What I will be watching for, what we should all be watching for, is the order in which they're going to take these nominees. If they're going to take those who are clearly unsuited, literally not qualified, and simply dispose of those first, you'll get one kind of a tone, and it'll signal to the Trump team that they're going to have to be a little more thoughtful about this. If, on the other hand, they decide to step aside and let Trump have almost all of the candidates, including the clearly problematic ones, then they have the ability to do that. That's what being in the majority really means.
So the president-elect has denied the knowledge of Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation, but he named the plan's co-author as the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vogt. He was recorded on hidden camera, and we aired this story early this year. This is before the election, and I want to play some of what Vogt said at the time.
80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies. We are trying to create a shadow Office of Management and Budget, a shadow National Security Council, and a shadow Office of Legal Counsel. These are the main organs in government that you need outside to create the battle plan.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
So these claims of a shadow government and wanting to minimize the independence of these agencies, does that jeopardize his confirmation? Because OMB director also is Senate confirmable.
Senate confirmable for sure. In fact, as I recall, I believe he needed every last vote last time. It was kind of a close vote for him in particular. But look, I think we all knew all along that Project 2025 was not just some pie in the sky list of ideas that Donald Trump knew nothing about. We knew all along, I think anybody who read it and looked at the names of the people who put it together, that this was clearly something that people with a deep vested interest in changing government were going to try and enact as policy. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see. No one should act surprised if some elements that came straight out of that 900-page book are going to be put forward as the battle plan for this new administration. Look at how quickly they're moving. I mean, Election Day wasn't even 3 weeks ago. And we're already starting to see some of the elements of what's likely to happen that are straight out of Project 2025.
Yeah, speaking of surprises, though, Lori Chavez DeRemer as Labor Secretary, someone who is pro-union, pro-workers' rights. How much confidence should anyone who prioritizes workers' rights find in that pick?
Well, she's an interesting pick. She's a moderate Republican, or what passes for a moderate Republican these days, who lost her seat out in Oregon. And so she's available. She's clearly a pro-union person. She had a lot of union support, which is unusual for a Republican. On the other hand, she is vastly outnumbered, Victor, by the billionaires in this cabinet in waiting, who have expressed quite loudly and quite specifically that they want to reduce wages, that they want to roll back workers' rights, that they're not in favor of unions dictating the course of what happens to working families. And so she's gonna have her political ability put to the test and see if she can be heard in what is clearly a very pro-business, pro-management cabinet in formation.
A president-elect confirmed on social media this week that he is prepared to declare a national emergency and use military to execute the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. You had some conversation with some experts this week about how this mass deportation would work. First, what did you learn and what's the plausibility of that?
Well, yeah, there were a lot of things that Donald Trump said on the campaign trail about his intentions, some of which just do not comport with constitutional law. So the legal experts that I've interviewed say that they'll be in court the day that those things get announced. You can't, for example, declare an alien invasion as if it were a state of war simply because you don't like what's happening at the border. It takes a little bit more than that. And the courts have ruled on such attempts in the past and will probably do so in the future. When things like canceling birthright citizenship by means of an executive order. Birthright citizenship is written into the Constitution. Even if you were going to change it, it wouldn't be by executive order. So there's going to be a lot of pushback. We're going to end up in the courts. The question then becomes, is the Supreme Court prepared to do Donald Trump's bidding if some of these questions end up before them?
All right, Errol Lewis, thank you. And if I don't speak with you before, happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Victor.
And whether you are flying or driving for Thanksgiving, weather could be an issue depending on where you're headed. CNN meteorologist Allison Chinchar is tracking the forecast. Allison, what are you watching there?
A lot. And the real question becomes, when does it affect what states on what day? Because that's going to be the thing. Take today, for example. Really, the eastern half of the country, no issues whatsoever in terms of travel concerns. The main issue for today is going to be out west, not just the Rockies, but all the way back to the West Coast, because we have several systems that are going to be making their way through that area in the next 48 hours. But from there, they then continue to go all across the entire country, impacting pretty much most states. So for today, the concern is going to be the heavy rain along the coast, especially as we head into Monday, too. And then also look at all of these alerts. Half a dozen states looking at those winter weather alerts for some pretty impactful snow late today and especially into the day on Monday, Tuesday.